Welcome back, everybody. We are still nearing the very tail end of the game, but there are still a couple of miscellaneous things we have to do.
Welcome, visitor. Our guest such tell me.
Welliger has something for us. Along with the repair powder. Always need that repair powder.
The King of Giants. How did you slay that behemoth? Incredible. Now, take these.
If you talk to Welliger after you kill the Giant Lord, he will somehow know about something that took place in 300 years in the past.
Be safe.
And give you the Espada Ropera and the Royal Dirk. The Espada Ropera, if I am pronouncing that right, is a thrusting sword. I believe in terms of base power and scaling, it's one of the stronger ones in the game. Though it lacks anything in a unique moveset, it's just the normal rapier stab them. The Royal Dirk is interesting. Well, you might think it would be a dagger, it's actually a short sword. It's also got a weird Macy-style attack pattern. It's pretty cool. The Dirk and the Ropera, I think, were sort of intended to be used in both hands. One in each hand, I mean, together, because they sort of compensate for each other's weaknesses. But you get them awfully late in the game for how dry they are. We're not quite done with adventures in the past affecting the present, so we need to head back to somebody's memory. It's the one with Captain Drummond in it. Can't quite remember where. Well, actually, I can remember where, I can't quite remember who. Coincidentally, today we are using the washing pole, which is not actually a washing pole, but a very long katana. It has strong dexterity scaling and decent base damage, as well as a fairly responsive moveset for a weapon with such long reach. It's pretty good, though it does have the fairly significant failing of having very low durability, like Dark Drift levels low. I would say that the washing pole is probably better than the Dark Drift, simply because having more reach is really, really useful. Also, it's got a silly name, so there's that. Wait your turn.
Take these. I think you may just need them. Don't ask me why. I just do. Be gone with you. Be gone.
Captain Drummond, after you defeat the Giant Lord, whether or not you summon him for it, will give you the Dranglake Helm, the final piece of that armor set we found so long ago. I honestly don't know why they made it that way, especially because Captain Drummond doesn't actually wear the helmet, but... Now for the real main event of this episode. We have more memories to visit. You may recall this chamber, the Smelter throne in Broom Tower. When we first visited, fighting past the Prowlers, there wasn't much of note here except for a bonfire and a finely crafted piece of armor that did nothing, because, it's a piece of armor. However, now that we have the Ashen Mist Heart, we can actually delve into the memories of the one who made the armor. This is the memory of the old Iron King. Presumably this takes somewhere in Iron Keep in the past, but there's no way to really be sure. The primary type of enemy here are Alonne Knights, which leads me to believe that we're in Iron Keep. Broom Tower did not feature such foes. There are also some fire salamanders here, but they're actually not a very big deal because they're completely immobile. You can also sort of cheese this one. They will still shoot very damaging fireballs at you, but when they can only attack from one angle and there's plenty of cover to take, it's not really a big deal. The large club is probably the best weapon for this area because everything here, except for the lizards, is weak to strike damage. And even though the lizards aren't weak to it, they're big and slow and they don't move, so it's not like they're going to dodge out of the way, which mitigates one of the big weaknesses of this weapon. There we go. It's a little finicky. The two-handed strong attack also has the benefit of completely bowling over any Alonne Knights it hits, or pretty much any humanoid enemy. This can create a very easy situation where you simply stunlock somebody to death. Though, truth be told, it's not so much a stunlock as in you just literally keep them on the floor for the entire fight. If you are not intent on abusing geometry and narrow hitboxes, well, not narrow hitboxes so much as narrow cones of vision, I guess, then the way to defeat the lizards without ranged attacks is to simply go up through these side corridors. They will take you directly behind them where they're defenseless. Where they are defenseless. The light attack works too, and it tends to work a little bit better in really close quarters. It might hit the wall, but it comes out quite a bit faster. There we go. 2 hits with the help of the Dragon Roar. There's a Knight Captain there, though we don't want to take him on in full view of the Salamander. They're not dangerous, but if you let them hit you with fireballs, they will kill you. So, make no mistake about that. Much safer just to do this. Notice without the help of the Dragon Roar, we actually need to initiate a whole other combo to kill it. It's not a huge bonus, but it's like, it only takes like a second to do. It looks cool. Be a dragon? Roar? That's kind of a hard sell. In the upcoming chamber, as we descend lower into wherever this is, there are some Alonne Knight archers with great bows. That complicates things a good deal. So do doorways, for that matter. Forbidden Sun probably wouldn't have done much against these guys anyway, but you know, it doesn't hurt to try. So the key to progressing safely here is to simply take cover behind the pillar, or the doorframe. Wait for them to come to you. Take them out. Of course, if you're using a big slow weapon, like the large club, then you can get punished by the archers fairly easily. So it's recommended that you bring quite a few life gems or Estus Celeste along with you. I would recommend life gems because there is a boss fight at the end of this. One of the curious things about this room is that it's multi-layered. On the grate up here, we fight Alonne Knights, but as is evident from those fireballs, there is also a fiery lizard down there. Let's investigate. Our reward for this minor exploration is a Twin Blade plus 7. A little late in the game for that sort of thing, but, you know, that saves you a bunch of Titanite chunks. Well, one Titanite chunk, but, you know, look. In the world of Drangleic, you need to look on the bright side of life. Or unlife. Now for the boss fight. As one might expect from going through all that with no shortcuts, that's one of the more obnoxious boss runs in the game. Now, as per thread request, I'm going to do this fight with a washing pole. It's not actually thread request so much as one guy made an offhand comment, but I thought it would be funny, so I did it. This is Sir Alonne. This fight is a great deal similar to the Fume Knight, actually. Both against humanoid foes who are very strong and very skillful. They also have very long-reaching weapons. Now, while the Fume Knight relied more on raw power, Sir Alonne instead relies on mobility. Getting a large distance from him will not actually help you very much because he can close it incredibly quickly. You must dodge that thrust attack or the fight is basically over unless you're very skilled. If he catches you with that, he will power up his sword with your life force, and his attacks will do much more damage. The attack itself also hurts a lot, so just try and dodge it. The key to surviving this fight is mostly baiting out his charge attack, because while it won't keep you away from him for long, it will give you an opportunity to at least heal yourself, which will be necessary, unless, like I said, you're very skilled. In terms of special attacks, Alonne doesn't really have anything particularly noteworthy right now. It's mostly the charge attack that will get you. His normal sword swipes cover a lot of distance, and they come out a little bit more slowly than you might imagine, so if you dodge prematurely, you will be punished, much like in the Fume Knight fight. As the fight goes on, he will start using leap attacks, which are very damaging, and the first time it happens, very surprising. They don't have a lot of wind-up, so you need to keep your eye on him at basically all times. Sir Alonne is probably one of my favorite fights in the game. He is incredibly difficult, but he's also very fun. There's one more attack. I'm not sure if he shows off in this fight or not. Like I mentioned, it's a there it is. Okay. So if you get too far away from him, there's a chance that he will not charge at you, but instead use projectile attacks from his sword. This is probably one of the better outcomes you can get from this fight because they're fairly easy to dodge and they root him in place for a while, meaning that's a good opportunity to use an Estus Flask and heal up. In terms of strength and weaknesses, Alonne doesn't really have any. He is slightly more vulnerable to strike attacks, but my best advice is to simply go with the weapon you're most comfortable with, haha, and shift him down the old-fashioned way. He has no elemental weaknesses to speak of and resists quite a bit. His armor is very strong. I would say that this fight is tied with the Fume Knight for the hardest one in the game. It's made a lot more difficult by the fact that the boss run is really obnoxious. Sir Alonne, like I mentioned before, is very mobile, so strong attacks will actually get you into trouble because you might dodge them. Stick with light attacks, and you will win the War of Attrition eventually, provided that you dodge things. For our victory against an honorable opponent, we get the soul of Sir Alonne. Are you kidding me? faithless coward. Our other reward is the final Smelter wedge, somehow hidden in the past. We can now finish what we set out to do all that time ago when we first set into Broom Tower and destroy the final Ashen Idol. Now, once I remember my way around, this is the wrong elevator, we can head to the final Ashen Idol's location. You may insert your own elevator music here if you wish. You may recall that the first time we were through here, I specifically avoided a specific area, mostly because of this. If I had gone in earlier, I would have wasted a Smelter wedge and an Ashen Idol that didn't actually do anything. I could have just left it alone, but I figured it'd be best to save it for later, because there was nothing particularly compelling here. Except for this guy. One more Iron Warrior before we're done with this place. They're probably most difficult in close quarters like this because there's not a lot of room to dodge their, I guess, lava spumes. Not really sure what those are. I guess they're like, these guys used to be part of a smelter and it's like superheated iron or something? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's obnoxious as hell. But with him out of the way, our final target is defenseless. This Ashen Idol will heal the Iron Warrior with its warmth aura, so you need to fight it by the door, or it will simply best you in a battle of attrition. With all 12 idols killed, we acquire the true soul of Nadalia. The 12 fragments coalesce into one. We can use that to build a special chime if we so desired. There are a couple of miscellaneous treasures out in these weird ledges. Not really sure what the purpose of this place is. I mean, if they're balconies, then you'd think somebody would have put in guardrails. A broadsword +7 is probably the least exciting treasure we could have found, but if you feel like trying that out this late in the game and you haven't before, then feel free. In the chest is actually something of note. The life ring +3. This ring gives you a pretty substantial boost to your total HP, so it can be useful depending on your build. I never liked it very much, but that doesn't mean it's bad. With Sir Alonne defeated, there is little and less now between us and the end of the game, but we're not done yet.